With plenty of money to spend and an already strong and young squad, where do we strengthen? I'm looking at left back and seeing how Max Wober wants to leave, so left back has to be a priority. Of course, let's not forget Oscar Gluck is arriving for free soon, and as a squad, we're quite full, so we kind of need to sell before we buy. In other news, Pep got sacked by City for finishing 6th. Madness! And we get notified that our 5th place finish was actually enough for Champions League qualification. Naturally, we did want to win the Europa League, but the reality is, the goal is, and always was, the Champions League. January target Emilian Koch was a target once again, but ultimately, he chose Arsenal. Serdar Sarci asked to leave. I left him at the Premier League squad registration, yet he still turned down offers from clubs. What a bell end. We entered into the transfer market and located a new fullback. We're looking for left, but this chap is kind of both-footed and may well do a job at left-back. Ludovic Vines, Ludovic Wijners, I don't know. Ludovic, welcome to Leeds, son. Albanian wonder kid who can play centre-back or centre-mid, and with some training, defensive midfield, surely. Armando Giesler, what is it with these names? We tabled a massive £58 million bid, because, you know, versatility, and he looks pretty good. 25 million up front and 33 million over 3 seasons, which means we have plenty to play with for future transfers this window. We're trying to ship off plenty of deadwood and no one seems to want to leave this window. So far, it's been a bit of a shambles and we're already at the start of the season, away to Liverpool, and got off to a poor start, losing 1-0. Against Fulham we went ahead twice and were pegged back twice in a game that looked destined to get away from us, but a late goal from Semi Kiliksoy grabbing us the 3 points with an 88th minute winner. We finally made a half-decent sale as Wilfried Gnonto went to Juventus for £33 million, but we got stung for 15% of that as a sell-on clause we owed to Zurich. The season started to turn in our favour as we beat Aston Villa 3-1, a hat-trick from fan favourite Jamie Donnelly, a comfortable victory in the end, and it could have been even more had we taken our chances. We continued our decent start with a 1-0 win against Brentford. We then dispatched Premier League champions Newcastle 4-1 in the Carabao Cup, not the first time over the years we've taken them to score in this competition. Winners, then beaten semi-finalists on penalties the following season. Let's get it back this year, shall we? A great performance, capped off by creative maestro Vicente Pizarro with this thunderbolt. Then on deadline day, we have a plethora of people leaving who essentially were either surplus to requirements or simply wanted to leave. We're a little heavy in terms of squad, so I'm happy to let people go. And with that, we have over 100 million in the transfer budget, so if we want to get into it in January, we can. Back on the pitch, and we had a solid performance against West Ham and Max Wober's new club. 3-0, and with that we find ourselves in second after 5 games. We had a good start last year and due to how tight the league was, nearly fell away. Let's hope we can step it up and kick on this year. We started our Champions League journey against Benfica and raced into an early lead. We continued pressing and everything was coming up Millhouse. By half time it was 3-0 and we were in dreamland. The Champions League might be a doddle, right? Wrong. Benfica came out in the second half with Liverpool Istanbul vibes and got one back. We then channeled our inner AC Milan and allowed Benfica to get a second, and the comeback was complete when they equalised in the 78th minute. A great start and a disappointing collapse, but we came away with a draw. I suppose not too bad in our first game, away against a pretty tricky opposition. Having said that, I feel we might have got off lightly comparing to our English counterparts. Arsenal lost to AC Milan, who scored twice in injury time. United lost to Bayern, who scored twice in injury time. Newcastle lost to Juventus, who scored the winner in injury time. Our old friend, Wilfried Gnonto, breaking Geordie hearts. Our strong league start came crashing down as we were humbled by Southampton 3-1. But our goal was a 92nd minute consolation. Dismal. And despite leaving it reasonably late, we got a 2-0 win against Dynamo Zagreb, our first Champions League win as Leeds manager, the first of many. And with that, the board feel they want longer with the Fresh Prince of West Yorkshire at the helm and offered me a new contract. Not the most convincing of performances against Wolves, but we got the win, 1-0, thanks to Buonanni. And even though the transfer window is shut, we're still doing business. 19-year-old wonder kid Daniel Carvalho, 6'4" centre-back who looks like the real deal. We met his release clause of £37 million, £53,000 a week, and we've got ourselves an outstanding signing coming in January. The international break came and went and Buonanni came back injured. Great. Then Diamande got injured, fortunately just for a couple of weeks though. Despite the injuries, we hosted Spurs after the international break, and to say the game was comfortable might be arrogant. but it was. We're making our mark and becoming a force to be reckoned with. 3-0 and another 3 points. We came from behind against Besiktas, also leaving it late in a 2-1 win before being humbled 3-0 by Everton. We exited the Carabao Cup in the 4th round, losing 2-1 to United. We were ahead, but United turned it around late. And we also suffered 2 injuries just to rub salt into the wound. Carboni a month, David Washington 1 week. We grabbed a point against Chelsea as we benefited from a Joshko Gvardiol own goal. Then Aston Villa went into administration, so we took a look and picked up one of their wonder kids for £23 million. Luke Portelli, English, young and bags of potential. Do we need him? No, but it'd be silly to turn this opportunity down, especially as we have plenty of money to spare. And it was a Jamie Donnelly goal that sealed the win against German Colossus Bayern Munich. We then lost 3-1 to Man City before facing United again in quick succession. This time we got the win, 2-1, and with that, after 12 games, we find ourselves in 5th place, which is a very respectable position, especially after the tough run recently and many drop points as we faced City, Chelsea and United in our last 3 league games, not to mention Bayern Munich sprinkled in there as a Champions League distraction. We beat Ludogorets 3-0 to continue our decent Champions League form, but things took a turn for the worse in the league. A disappointing 1-0 defeat to Brighton, which was followed up by a 2-1 defeat at home to relegation-threatened Nottingham Forest. We bounced back with a comfortable 3-0 win against Burnley, but that was short-lived as we fell to a poor defeat away at Olympiacos in the Champions League. And we left it late to complete the comeback against reigning champions Newcastle. It sounds more impressive than it is in reality, as Newcastle are massively out of sorts, down in 14th, and recently just sacked Zidane. We just piled on the misery, and our youth intake preview might be the worst one I've genuinely ever seen. And that's saying something. We took the lead against West Ham from the spot before they equalised in the 44th minute. It looked like we were going to go in all square before West Ham, in injury time, took the lead. A quick turnaround, a water bottle was about to get thrown, but in the last kick of the first half, David Rutterschmidt rifled this into the top corner. This guy's a centre-back, by the way. We took control of the second half and West Ham forgot the most important rule, which is do not let Rooney Bargi cut inside on his left foot. He did, and made them pay with this sublime finish. We then sealed the victory, Oscar Gluck making it 4. And we were contacted by our scouts who advised us we should sign Romero as a priority, and he looked good, so I thought, come on, let's go. The bid was negotiated with a 40% sell-on clause. I of course rejected, and Romero is fuming with his club. He wants to join Leeds. Fear not, Christian, we'll be back. And we were. 7.25 million, and this guy feels like a 70 to 80 million pound superstar already. We do not need a right winger in any way, shape or form. We're actually overloaded in that position. Well, this one's just a no-brainer, right? We then beat Norwich 3-1, which takes us up to 2nd in the league. Admittedly, teams around us have games in hand, but hey, we're 2nd for now, definitely in the mix for a Champions League qualification. Maybe even a title push. We then demolished Bournemouth 6-2, and then against Arsenal we took the lead early through Carboni before Odegaard equalised in the second half. Arsenal were level for just 2 minutes, being the masters of their own downfall with this defensive calamity, allowing Watio the easiest goal he will score all season. Carboni then missed a penalty, meaning it was a very nervy last half hour, but we held on 2-1. Unbeaten in 6 and we're still 2nd, but now there aren't any games in hand where we can get leapfrogged. 1 point behind Arsenal. Time to welcome our new signings in January and see if we can hold on to the majority of our squad. Against Fulham, David Washington took a magnificent touch that sent Nobel down to the shops as he opened the scoring. Oscar Gluck fancied a bit of that, wrong-footing Nobel himself, leaving him out of position as he tucked it home. Fulham came out in the second half with renewed vigour, getting 1 back, then equalising 5 minutes from time. New boy Romero came off the bench and set up Valentin Carboni, who scored the winner in the 98th minute. Again, questionable goalkeeping from Nobel. Fulham can feel hard done by here. And that late showing takes us top of the league. Again, Arsenal Spurs can overtake us after their games in hand, but for now, we are top. I'm pretty smug about it. A tough start in the FA Cup, Liverpool. Could our journey be over before it begins? It looked like it as Harvey Elliott put Liverpool ahead. We equalised a minute later and it was 1-1 for quite a while. Could we grab a winner? Or would Liverpool take control and knock us out the cup? Nah, we absolutely smashed them. 5-1, scoring 4 goals in the final 20 minutes. We are starting to look like a real force in every competition. And it was deja vu as we had Liverpool again in our next game, this time in the league. Fewer goals, just 1 to be precise. David Washington with the only goal of the game, and we won 1-0. That makes it 8 wins in a row for the mighty Leeds. We haven't lost since Olympiacos in all competitions, and it was Forest and Brighton in the league. Seems kind of shambolic seeing those back-to-back defeats now, considering the form we're in. Mateus França wanted to leave and we have new signings replacing him, so we cashed in for £43 million. We beat Villa 2-0, Luke Portelli, our new signing, making his debut, opened the scoring against his former club, a goal which would go on to win Goal of the Month. Talk about announcing yourself to the club. Jamie Donnelly got the second and can feel slightly aggrieved that this wonder strike not only won't be Goal of the Month, but wasn't even Goal of the Game. Then it was 1 for the neutrals as we drew 4-4 with Brentford. Then we decided to meet the release clause of Jose de Jesus Ortega for £9.5 million. Once again, we certainly do not need a central attacking midfielder at this point, but again, we can't turn down a determined wonder kid for less than £10 million, especially not one this good. Champions League time, and we beat Atletico Madrid 3-2, which secured our passage through to the knockout stages. We then beat Bristol City 4-0 in the FA Cup before losing 3-0 away at AC Milan to end the Champions League group. But we finished 10th and secured passage through to the knockout phase. 10th is pretty good for the first season back in the competition, and we kinda backdoored our way into it as other results went our way. More money, more games, more experience for our young squad. We're flying right now here at Leeds. Back in the league, and it was back-to-back 2-1s, the first a victory against Southampton, the second a defeat to Wolves, which ends our 11-match unbeaten run. A David Washington hat-trick gave us advantage in the first leg against Salzburg, a 3-0 win, and we should find ourselves comfortably through, as the home leg should in theory be a formality. We beat Spurs 2-1 and continue to remain in second place in the league. Arsenal have a game in hand, but we are level on points. After 27 games, we continue to overachieve and remain in the title picture. Salzburg grabbed a 2-2 draw with 2 late goals, but it was too little too late as our 3-0 lead from the first leg meant we progress 5-2 on aggregate. As we beat Everton 3-0, the relegation threatened Wolves, who ruined our unbeaten run, actually did us a favour as they battered Arsenal 3-0, and with that we're officially top of the league. No games in hand, no jiggery pokery, legitimately top of the league. Leeds. And what better way to celebrate than a 1-0 loss to Chelsea? Luckily, Spurs battered Arsenal, so we remain top for now. And in the round of 16 in the Champions League, it's our closest Premier League rivals, Arsenal. Arsenal took control early and raced into a 2-0 lead by half-time. We kept ourselves in it as Echeverry got one back, and as time was running out, David Washington equalised in injury time, making the second leg finally poised. In between the first and second leg, we battered City at home, leaving them languishing in 7th. The second leg against Arsenal, and it was deja vu. Once again, Arsenal took the lead, and once again we came back into it. Once again it ended in a draw, but of course, it can't end a draw, it's penalties. Martin Odegaard missed, and everyone else scored, meaning we find ourselves through to the next round of the Champions League. We visited Old Trafford, who, if they win their games in hand, will go top, and they played with that conviction. A wonderful work move, switching the play to give Anthony a tap-in. But long gone are the days where we roll over and die. We came out in the second half not only believing we could get back into the game, but go on and win it. First, Dave grabbed the equaliser, then Marlon Gomez put us ahead with a beautiful burst of pace from a short corner. He then doubled his tally with a deflected free kick, and it was 3-1 and game over. In injury time, United grabbed one back, but it wasn't enough. 3-2. And with that win, there's daylight at the top. 4 points. Yes, United have a game in hand, but we will still be top even if they win it. This feels like such a huge win in our unlikely pursuit of the league title. It was the FA Cup, Newcastle, and our old flame Endrick who bagged a brace as we drew 3-3. Unfortunately, this time we were foiled by penalties, just 1 week after our heroics in the Champions League. We then beat Brighton 3-1 as United drew. We're now 5 points clear at the top with 6 games left. If there was ever a time to avoid mistakes, it was the Champions League quarter-final against AC Milan, but it appears the occasion got the better of us. Firstly, Restes fumbled a simple cross as Milan opened the scoring. We got ourselves back into it with a nice finish from January signing Ezequiel Romero, but then it was the other January signing that sealed the win, Daniel Carvalho, but don't get too excited, he was unfortunate enough to score an own goal, and we lost 2-1. And then things went from bad to worse as we got truly demolished by Nottingham Forest. From being in the driving seat, we might throw this away. And with 98 million remaining in our transfer budget, but next season's budget only guaranteed to be 33 million, of course I expect more, but I don't think they'll add it to my 98 million, so I better try and spend some before we get the budgets. Evan Ferguson is the perfect acquisition for us. We're looking to step up, and this season Killuxoy and Donnelly have been slightly underwhelming, and Washington hasn't scored anywhere near as many as I'd hoped, to be honest. We travelled to the San Siro to try and overturn a 2-1 deficit, but failed, losing 1-0. With 5 games remaining, the title race is going down to the wire. United and Arsenal have been hemorrhaging points, but we've slipped up as well. A potential blockbuster fixture is us against Arsenal on the final day. But being 5 points clear, let's hope it's all wrapped up by then. Relegation threatened Burnley did everything possible to thwart us, but an 89th minute David Washington goal secured the 3 points. Hendrick and his Geordie friends foiled us yet again, this time 5-3 at St James's Park, whilst Arsenal beat Forest 3-1. Our lead is down to 2 points with 3 games remaining. With Arsenal winning in the early kickoff, we were now second, and things got worse as Norwich took the lead. We showed resolve as Buonani equalised, and it was 1-1. However, heartbreaking the 89th minute as Norwich scored what surely looked to be the winner, and the title might just be gone. But we weren't going down without a fight. Less than 60 seconds later, Carboni equalised to give us hope. We had the momentum, and Carboni stepped up again, scoring to make it 3-2 in the 92nd minute. The travelling Leeds fans went crazy, and that continued all the way home as Carboni completed an injury time hat-trick, winning the game 4-2. Could this be our year? It's starting to feel like it's written in the stars for us this season. And this magnificent comeback secures Champions League qualification, and the board are delighted. And it genuinely felt like our year. An 81st minute goal from Oscar Gluck looked to secure the points against Bournemouth. However, in the 87th minute, Bournemouth equalised. But you should know by now, it's not over until it's over. As we benefited from yet more 90th minute heroics, David Rutterschmidt heading home, securing the win. Another dramatic 90th minute win. And the title race goes to the final day. As Arsenal beat Newcastle, they must beat us. A draw and we win the league title. And we told the team just that, and there was an overwhelming sense of belief and encouragement. And that only intensified as we took the lead early. Armando Gleisler scored, but it went down as a Martin Odegaard own goal. Just 4 minutes in, and the title could be coming to Ellen Road. It was a long slog of an afternoon, and Arsenal pushed back, finally grabbing an equaliser through Matis Tell in the 81st minute. But that's not enough for Arsenal, they have to win. And in the 9th minute of stoppage time, heartbreak. A defensive mishap. Restes rushed out to clear, and it bobbled into space, and Gabriel Jesus wins the league for Arsenal. After all the 90th minute drama on the way, we lose the title in 90th minute drama. Kind of ironic, right? So it's second place at a trophyless season, which to be honest feels like a disappointment, but really we had the league won until the last second of the game, and we got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So all in all, not bad. The problem was we clearly didn't score enough goals. Oscar Gluck, our central attacking midfielder, was top scorer in the league with 14, and not one player scored more than 20 in all competitions. So the incoming Evan Ferguson will be a welcome addition. Where else to strengthen though? We have the money to spend and a few players wanting to leave, so another marquee signing might be on the cards. Time will tell. We'll be back next season, and this time the Premier League title is coming to Leeds.